Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and this is going to be another predictions video. So, it's that time of year again. Who is going to be walking out Toronto, Canada, one step closer, her in theory, to being world champion? Let's find out as we are doing our predictions for her Money in the Bank, taking place from the Scotiabank Arena in or Scotiabank Arena, I should say, Scotiabank. My apologies, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So, of course, if you've seen these prediction videos of mine before, you kind of know how it's works. If you haven't, I'm going to be going match by match, and talking about who I think is going to walk out victorious when it comes to this match. And just a couple preliminaries before we begin. For starters, of course, it's just the order that the matches are listed here on the event. Doesn't mean they'll necessarily be the order that the matches will take place in come showtime. I'm the other thing worth mentioning, a couple things worth mentioning. For starters, WWE has asked their fans to wear white for this one. They want a total whiteout for this event, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it has something to do with kind of like the sports team and stuff like that, at something sports related. Admittedly, that's kind of what's being thrown around. And I thought it was white because it's in Canada, so it's snow color. But I guess it's like it got something to do with some kind of sports thing. But that's kind of what people are speculating. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on in that regard. Heard and admittedly, if I was there, I usually don't prefer to wear white. Like I've obviously worn white before, and I wear it when I have to. But otherwise, I try to avoid white only because it stains really easily, or at least the stains are a lot more visible. Well, depending on the color of the stain that is, because sometimes if it's like mustard, that's gonna show up on a black shirt as well. But especially with white, I feel like white stains very easily. So there's that. But the other thing is that Trish Stratus is going to be hosting Money in the Bank, which makes sense. Of course, Trish Stratus from Toronto. Also, she's going to be coming back, making her return, at least to host. Whether or not she'll be getting back in the ring, we will. I guess remains to be seen. I think her last match was the steel cage at Fastlane, if I'm not mistaken. The steel cage match she had against Becky Lynch, if I'm not mistaken. So, but Trish Stratus is gonna be hosting. But anyway, as for the card itself, the thing about this card, right, is that it has some excitement, but also drawing some criticisms. And the main criticism being kind of the whole, well, it's only 5 matches on the card. I kind of briefly touched upon this when I talked about Forbidden Door, or if you haven't already, go check out that review. But I'll briefly mention it here again. And the length of the card doesn't matter. The amount of matches the amount of matches on the card, I should say, doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. Granted, you don't want a card to be too short, but I feel like, but I feel like, the match quality is what's important. The fact that, how will the matches deliver on the card? Right. But the other thing is, usually WWE matches do go for a little while. We get like 10, 15, 20-minute matches or so. They do sometimes plug it with extra stuff, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it breezes by too quickly. Yeah, if that makes any sense. But the other thing is that this is Money in the Bank. These are Money in the Bank matches. Money in the Bank matches, they're not like super long, but they usually have some length to them. They usually have some girth with them. The same with like the Elimination Chamber or the Royal Rumble. Like the Royal Rumble matches, it's like the Royal Rumble match card was kind of short, but again, it's about the quality. But also the thing is, Royal Rumble matches, those are like an hour or so a piece. So those are long matches. It's not like 5 matches. It's gonna be 2 hours and then we're gone. No, usually WWE still manages to pump these out around the 3-4 hour mark. But but yeah. So that's kind of, I almost feel like that's kind of a non-point. It should be about the quality. Now there have been short matches that had very bad quality. There's been long cards that have had good quality. It's all about the quality. The quality is the most important thing, but hey, not necessarily the length or how many matches are on there. That being said, not to totally contradict, but I'll take 5 good matches over like 20 subpar matches, and that's not a knock at Forbidden Door at all. In fact, Forbidden Door was actually pretty solid, but yeah, like if you have 5 good matches, it's 5 great matches even, versus like 15 matches, but they all suck. Then which pay per view was better? or uh, or so that. But anyway, it kind of getting sidetracked. So let's get into the card, starting with the men's Money in the Bank. And of course, going match by match, I'm gonna do my predictions, who I think is gonna win, but also talk about what I think is gonna be the strongest and weakest match of the night. So starting off with the men's Money in the Bank championship. Yeah, men's Money in the Bank ladder match as Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, yeah, and Drew McIntyre will all be vying for a shot at the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, the other thing that's got a lot of people excited about this card is that it truly does feel unpredictable. Like, normally, when it comes to like Money in the Bank, and this is usually how I feel like the structure is when it comes to its competitors. You have like one or two that are like, okay, very viable. Yeah, you could see them winning it. It's like they very much will like guarantee to win it. Then there's a couple more that's like, okay, they're probably not gonna win. And then there's two, and then there's a couple that don't have a chance in hell. Like, no way they're winning it. It's to like fill extra bodies. This one I'm not really getting from this one. And like, honestly, I could make a case for any of these 6 guys. Jey Uso is over like Rover. The fans still doing like the yeet chants and everything. Jay really coming into his own in his singles run. Carmelo Hayes, one of the newer stars, at least on the main roster, has been getting quite a bit of traction. And as well, Andrade came back not too long ago. Came back at the Royal Rumble. It'd be nice to see him get a little push. And don't forget, he's the current WWE Speed Champion. Then Chad Gable. Chad Gable coming out of the Intercontinental Championship scene came up short there, but has been getting a push as well, especially with him going heel, kind of breaking off from the Alpha Academy and everything. And LA Knight, it's still over or like crazy. They did the versus Yeet for Jay and LA Knight. I didn't watch back up, but I saw some of the highlights. Them doing like the versus Yeet thing and everything. But LA Knight's still incredibly over a lot. The man that a lot of people felt like should have won last year. In hindsight, I can kind of see LA Knight not winning it. But a lot of people felt like he should have won last year, and LA Knight potentially facing for the United States Championship at SummerSlam. And then Drew McIntyre, who's also been on a very big push as of late in the world title picture, coming close on some occasions, winning it even at WrestleMania before, or a combination of Damian Priest cashing and CM Punk. Damian Priest cashing in his Money in the Bank, CM Punk cashing in his being CM Punk being upset that Drew McIntyre took him out with a tricep injury in the bank. But yeah, so there's that. And speaking of which, when is CM Punk gonna cost Drew McIntyre? Because we know it's coming. Like CM Punk, Drew McIntyre have been at each other's throats. Drew McIntyre quit it for like a few days, then came back and just beat the crap out of CM Punk. Bloodied him up and everything, if I'm not mistaken. And so CM Punk will likely be back soon, back for revenge. CM Punk close to being cleared for in-ring return, which will set up nicely for their official match at SummerSlam. It's all come to this. Essentially, this feud they've been having pretty much almost the entire year. Her kind of having their competitions and everything before the Rumble, then what happens in the Rumble, then after the Rumble, where Drew McIntyre talk about how he deliberately targeted CM Punk. He literally prayed for CM Punk to get injured, and it happened. And now that's some next level hating. from Drew McIntyre. That and CM Punk costing McIntyre the championship at WrestleMania, although Drew McIntyre also kind of cost himself by gloating, and then CM Punk costing Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castle. Well, Drew McIntyre being down, CM Punk stealing his tags that belonged to AJ and his dog Larry, and now I imagine CM Punk will get his get back, thus us leading into the match at SummerSlam. So I imagine Drew McIntyre will be a focal point here. This one's gonna be hard to call. Like, there is a number of ways that this could go. Jay seems to be the favorite to win this match, so I think I might go with Jay here. But I can see this going a number of different ways. I think I might go with Jay on this one. I think I'm gonna go with Jay on this one. There's quite a few different ways. I'm excited for this match, as well as the other Money in the Bank match we'll get to. But yeah, I think we'll go with Jay. But this one could go a number of ways. But then next up, it's the women's turn in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Io Sky, Chelsea Green, and Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark will be vying for women for the Money in the Bank contract. This one a little less unpredictable. But I can also see this going in a variety of different ways. Io Sky, of course, former champion, kind of coming off the championship, kind of saying something needs to change in Damage Control. Chelsea Green began hitting some traction as well. Lyra Valkyria just recently came up short in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament, and Tiffany Stratton kind of been getting a push. Has kind of had it stifled a little bit due to the controversy she was in, the kind of main controversy she was in on social media. Naomi, he has been getting some traction as well. Same kind of with Zoe Stark. Again, similar to the men's, not quite having that feeling of being totally there's just bodies, you just gotta pile bodies in here because you gotta have 6 people in the match, and that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, how some Money in the Bank matches feel like you have 6 people or 7 or 8 people or however many, just for the sake of saying you have 6 people. But for these there's a number of different directions they could go in. Would you give it to Io because A, she won it last year, and B, because she's saying something needs to change Damage Control? Do you give it to Chelsea Green for the lull factor? Do you give it to Lyra because they're giving her a push? Same with kind of Naomi or Zoe Stark. Admittedly, Zoe Stark kind of in that dark horse position, and within this match, do you give it to Tiffany because she's been getting a push as well? I believe for this one, Tiffany Stratton is the favorite to win this one, but I think you know what, I think I might go with Tiffany Stratton. It'll be interesting to see if they actually pull the trigger on her. Apparently she's not facing any heat for the aforementioned what happened, but yeah, I think I might go with Tiffany Stratton here. Will it indeed be Tiffy time at Money in the Bank? We will find out. But next up for the World Heavyweight Championship match, and this is a last chance match as Damian Priest, El Campeón del Mundo, will face off against Seth freaking Rollins. And the stipulation here is a double stipulation, is what it's called, last chance match. If Damian Priest wins, then Rollins will not challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship as long as Damian Priest is champion. However, if Seth Rollins beats Damian Priest here, Damian Priest must leave the Judgment Day. I wonder where this is going. Admittedly, you could make the argument for either side. I think that Seth Rollins is going to pick up the win here. Seth Rollins, can we talk about how little time Seth Rollins spent on the show? Seth Rollins was supposed to be gone way longer than that. At Seth Rollins and pretty much pretty much tore up his leg and everything, or at least probably just his knee. I forget his exact injury at WrestleMania, but he worked through both nights of and yet is back like a couple minutes later. What was he on, John Cena time? But Seth Rollins back way ahead of schedule. I wonder how this would have unfolded, how things would be in the cards if Seth Rollins didn't come back so early. Was this the plan all along? Was Seth Rollins intentionally trying to get back early? But nevertheless, as for this one, I think I am gonna go with Seth Rollins here. I think Damian Priest losing here will set in motion Damian Priest versus Finn Balor, and that way you kind of have an out because they wanted to kind of tell the story of when Gunther won the King of the Ring and thus won the championship match at SummerSlam. That's kind of locked in. However, they kind of had Cody versus Solo kind of slowly coming together, but then they also had Damian Priest and Finn Balor slowly coming together. But his way, this kind of gives them an out, so that you can end up having their cake and eating it too, essentially. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins on this one. The question is, will Balor try to help Priest retain, or will he cost Priest the championship? We'll find out. And yes, Damian Priest and Finn Balor have kind of at each other's throats. That was Finn kind of saying Damian Priest like kind of going soft and everything, and Damian not wanting to rely on the Judgment Day as much to fight his battles for him. So it'll be an interesting dynamic here when it comes to that. But then next up for the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn, the champ, will go up against Braun Breaker. So Braun Breaker has been on an absolute tear, which is why a lot of people are thinking that he will win the Intercontinental Championship. And I am one of those people who, meanwhile, of course, Sammy, he got out of his feud with Chad Gable. Chad Gable kind of moving into his feud with the Wyatt Six and everything. So for this one, I think Braun Breaker's gonna pick up the win here. Like if there's ever with how they've built up Braun Breaker, not just within NXT but also on the main roster with him, like I said, going on the absolute tear, even kind of writing off Ricochet from the company, which they say Ricochet might be on his way to AEW, who we'll have to wait and see on that one though. But with Braun Breaker being on this tear, if there was ever a time to pop the championship on him, it's now. Sadly, WWE has had a habit in the past of not striking while the iron's hot, but with this one, they definitely should strike while the iron's hot, because when it comes to Braun Breaker, the iron is very much white hot. He's incredible. The NXT fans have known it for a while, but now the main roster fans kind of, which definitely two different kind of fan bases for the most part. Obviously, there is some interconnection because they're both under the WWE banner, but now the main roster, folk are able to see what Braun Breaker can do. I think now would be the perfect time to pop the Intercontinental Championship on Sami Zayn, and I think now would also be a really good time to kind of consider moving Sami Zayn up into the world title picture. Sami Zayn's definitely more than earned it. So everybody wins here. So I think I'm gonna go with Braun Breaker. Now the question is, do they do a squash match or do they do a squash match? Does Braun Breaker just absolutely annihilate Sami Zayn and just walk out the championship, or does Sami Zayn get his licks in and fight back? The first one would be more competitive. The second one would be more competitive. The first one would make a lot more sense. Hence, nothing against Sami Zayn, obviously, but with Braun Breaker, with how he's being positioned. But I think I'm gonna go with the competitive side, and Braun Breaker can definitely have a competitive match. But yes, I think I'm gonna go with Braun Breaker there. And the last one in 6-man tag team action, and Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens and team up to take on the Bloodline, that being Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. So what a tangled web we weave when it comes to the Bloodline. And real quick though, before we get into that and talking about who I think is going to win, and Kevin Owens' mom is in the hospital, so wishing her well and wishing her a very speedy recovery. As for this match, though, Solo, in the wake of Roman Reigns' absence, building his own bloodline. And first it was Tama Tonga, then Tonga Loa came in at Backlash. Now Jacob Fatu, who is on the scene here, the SmackDown, I believe, right after Clash of the Castle. This new bloodline being absolutely dangerous. They've taken out Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman not acknowledging Solo as his tribal chief. They essentially beat the crap out of him for it. And man, props to Paul Heyman. Like, the dedication, not sleeping the night before to give more of that, like, disheveled look. Just, like, Paul Heyman is probably one of the smartest minds in the business, and things like I just explained are definitely reasons why. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes, who is the champion, kind of in the crosshairs of Solo, Solo and the Bloodline, attacking Cody at Clash of the Castle. Randy Orton, of course, brought in by Cody back at Survivor Series, but Randy also kind of eyeing Cody Rhodes' championship. They say never trust a snake. And of course, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens have been having their partnership and everything. And man, between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, which one's gonna turn on Cody first? But as for this one, I think this one's probably going to go to the Bloodline, and thus it will set up for Solo versus Cody at SummerSlam, which is likely the plan are going with. But the question on everyone's mind is Roman going to show up? And I think my answer to that is probably not tonight. The main reason being, it would get a huge pop. It definitely would. But I would let Solo get the win, have it go to his head, even more than being the new leader the Bloodline already has, and then that leads to Cody versus Solo, and then Roman shows up, and then Solo and Roman have their confrontation. Solo even calling out Roman, and I don't think the return should be done just yet, man. Especially because it would be poetic, considering that it was SummerSlam in 2020 where Roman first returned and returned as a heel, and what really began like the whole tribal chief character, and of course he won the Universal Championship like a week later at Payback. So that was definitely the genesis was the SummerSlam. So how poetic would it be for Roman to return again at SummerSlam? So I think, as tempted as WWE is to have Roman return here tonight, I definitely think it'd probably help out better in the long run to at least hold off until SummerSlam. But so those are the matches. Those are my predictions for the matches. For the strongest and weakest matches, it's the strongest. Admittedly, it's pretty hard to tell because this is talking about a solid card. The strongest and weakest is just gonna be and I've mentioned before how it's pretty much just like which match is going to get like the most amount of attention. Is probably going to be the most fun. Which one is probably going to be like the least amount of fun. People aren't going to really pay attention as much to it. But for this one, I think the strongest is probably going to be the 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. Those are going to be a lot of fun. And admittedly, a bit of bias on my part because I am, of course, a sucker for ladder matches. As for the weakest, only by comparison, probably the Intercontinental Championship match, but that's only by comparison. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for these predictions. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications every time I upload a video so you can see as soon as it drops. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Money in the Bank. Who you think is going to win? Who you think is going to be Mr. and Miss Money in the Bank? Who you think is going to walk out World Heavyweight Champion? And let me know how you think this will. Well, this event will definitely set up for SummerSlam, but how will it set up for SummerSlam? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.